James, are you on the line with us?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. James. We are very happy to have you on the phone today. Dr. James, a little background on Dr. James. He is currently a lecturer who is teaching economics in UMS for the past 11 years. Yeah, with more than 8 years of it studying there, and then studying and working in Japan. Yeah, and then going back to work with the Malaysian federal government after graduating.
No, actually, I worked first with the federal government after my undergraduate.
Oh, right.
Then I went to Japan to study and work, and then I come back to Sabah and work.
Right, and in Japan you were also studying economics, yeah?
Sure.
Dr. James. So Dr. James is coming as a part of our series on FMT Borneo Plus, talking about issues from Borneo. And today we're talking about the socio-economic situation in especially Sabah, Sarawak, which are in Borneo. So, Dr. James, historically, how is the social and economic situation in Sabah and Sarawak?
Post-independent or post the formation of Malaysian Federation.
Right.
In the 60s, Sabah was third richest state, federal member. Sarawak was fifth or sixth position. This in terms of GDP alone, yeah.
Right.
And then that time, both Sabah and Sarawak were producing primary commodities like timber. Mostly timber that time, and a little bit of agriculture. And both states actually were importing more than exporting.
Right.
60s.
Right. What about the other states, being Indonesians, Kalimantan or Brunei? How are they in the 60s?
Actually, Kalimantan at that time they were still not divided into what we have today. Yeah? Today we have four provinces: West Kalimantan, East, Central, and South. And Kalimantan in the 60s, during confrontation, was the richest region in Indonesia. In fact, among BIMIEGA or in ASEAN area, actually Kalimantan was the richest.
Wow, okay.
Over the years, after 50 years, they change, things change. Sabah is now bottom 3.
Right, it's shocking because I was also in Kalimantan's Pontianak and whatnot. So yeah, so you were saying, yeah, Sabah.
Yes.
How has it changed?
Okay, first of all, Sabah is in the bottom 3, Sarawak is in the bottom 5, and Kalimantan is one of the poorest region in Indonesia comparable to Irian Jaya.
So what actually happened throughout these years?
Okay, many things. First of all, the exploitation of natural resources. Okay, in the 60s, we already started to exploit. We were producing raw materials from all just natural resources. There's no much of a value added, like logs, sawmills, and basic fishery stuff like that. And today we still producing the same thing, but slightly different. With additional of manufacturing. So what actually happened that 50 years time? Of course, throughout the 50 years, it's not that Sabah, Sarawak, and Kalimantan stagnant. We're not stagnant actually. We also experiencing economic boom now. But that economic boom is just in the urban center. And this boom is coming from none other from the price the price of the commodity, primary commodity,
going
for example, palm oil and oil, petroleum. and that fuel into real estate bubbles. But for Kalimantan is sad because they actually stagnant. If you go to Kalimantan, different area of Kalimantan, you observe they are like 50 years. Sabah, how Sabah and Sarawak look like 50 years ago.
They're frozen in time.
You can say that, yes. Yes. So both sides of the border, we have a lot of poor people, but the poorest of the poor in Kalimantan is much more severe.
Yeah, I've been there to experience how, I was at Pontianak, and even Pontianak should be a more developed town than compared to the other parts of Kalimantan. And even there, I was pretty surprised because I'm looking at buses that are, I don't know, like 50 years old. I think they look like what I've seen in the movies, and I didn't thought that I would see them in this part of the world. Yeah, that was that felt like going back in time.
That's right. Yes, I mean the only area that actually recorded growth in the entire all 4 provinces of Kalimantan is Langkaraya, because they have oil, and Samarinda. That's the only 2 areas that recorded a little bit of economic growth. The rest, no growth. Actually, some of them negative. So, yes, Sabah and Sarawak, we have been experiencing about 10 years of high growth. Yes. Although we are occupying the top 3 and top 5 bottom, but we actually experiencing economic growth actually.
It's just relatively not as much as the other region in Malaysia.
Sure. We actually running, but our speed of running is not as fast as Terengganu, for example, who is now top in Malaysia. Terengganu, of course, federal territory, you cannot compare with them. Penang, Johor, Melaka, these are industrial states. And they have a long history of development. Sabah and Sarawak, we have short history in development. If you look at the structure of our economy, what are we producing today? If you look at our export, today both Sarawak actually has bigger exports. Sarawak has more domestic production compared to Sabah. And Sarawak has a considerable numbers of industries, manufacturing and service, more than Sabah. Yes, that means in terms of job creation, Sabah economy is not actually moving towards middle income or higher income. It's far.
Right.
Yeah, what we produce, job creation actually is from the primary sectors that actually lowly paid jobs,
I'm wondering, because when I visited Sabah and Sarawak, in particularly Sabah, I have friends who are telling me that this was not how it used to be in the past, where, shortly after independence, they actually enjoyed a period of relatively very strong local industries. And you're talking about people who got educated in the UK and whatnot, and they came back and they really developed their local industry. And however, it seems like at one point in time that stopped, and that's because they were telling me that one is that the government stopped giving scholarship to bright ones from the poor families, and two, it seems like there are some changes in policy that's creating this drop in local industries.
Okay, there's 2 things about that comment. One, actually the number of scholarship from the state and other state-linked agency actually is about half maybe compared to 20 years or 30 years ago. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
They reduce. It's not that they no exist now, but they reduce it. But they respect that. Okay, it's not something political. For example, when they form European Union, and the currency of UK and all countries in Europe actually gone up. So it's kind of difficult to give scholarship and send students there. That's why you find that some scholarship given to students to study medicine all the way to Ukraine, the ex-Soviet Union, because that's where you can get reasonable, good standard of medical school and affordable.
What have actually the federal government and also the state government did to reduce the poverty in those regions?
A lot. Federal government actually implement a lot of what we call grassroots type.
How grassroots?
Grassroots type. Like for example,
they build a dam for them. What?
No. They open up one Malaysia clinic and one Malaysia shop, for example. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That is populist policy. But as you know, populist policy has ulterior motive underneath this type of grassroots type of assistance to the poor.
Yes, but that one is not considering to help to reduce the poverty. It's just helping up to giving some, like you said, use the word assistance. So they're using this type of the help to them, but it doesn't really reduce the poverty. It doesn't really help them to increase their income and improve their life.
Sure, it doesn't. That's why I said there's ulterior motive beyond and above so-called helping the poor.
Mm-hmm.
Also, for example, from the viewpoint of labor, they implemented minimum wages that implemented actually the implementation was misguided and was done in the hurry, because minimum wages, we are not the only country on this planet that actually having it,
Mm-hmm.
So we can actually start. Actually, the best way to do it, you start with a small scale,
mm-hmm.
and then if things work out, then you expand it. But it didn't happen that way because the ruling party was desperate to get votes every time we have election. So they implemented because it was popular. It would give them votes. But now you see the repercussion. There will be serious dire consequences of this, half-baked policy like minimum wages.
Mm-hmm. Then, when we look at the poverty group, it's more referring to the indigenous, isn't it? Am
yes,
I right?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
So, if that's the case, is there any way that we can help the indigenous to improve their life better, making them better throughout any assistance from the United Nations or maybe from any other NGO parties? Is there anyone that giving the help other than the government?
Government is only one way to allocate limited resources.
Yes.
That's what we say, yeah?
Yes.
Civil society is another, or private sector is, because market can be good to poor people and can be bad. That depends who is running the market, And
it seems like never be good before. It's always bad, right?
So the evidence points to that direction, though.
Okay.
But I would say that the civil society, the movement that's self-organized by the local people, because before, we have the assumption that the educated elite should lead the movement to change.
Mm-hmm.
But that of mindset is over. It doesn't have a place in a truly globalized world today.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially with social media, with the free news portal like free news like you guys, Things are much more transparent. At least things are not related to government elite. Are very transparent actually. So we can make use, take advantage of this technology to help the people in the rural area.
Other than the technology, how about the education? Is it It's one of the main. The key factor that can help them to improve, isn't it? Because they learn.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So, Dr. James, I have another questions. Just wondering, are you local in Sabah or Sarawak?
Yes, I was born in Labuan, which is now the Federal Territory.
Okay. As far as I'm concerned, it's not easy. Take yourself as a case, right? It's not easy for an indigenous to go to the school and receiving educations and even further up to the higher educations. Yes. So how you manage to do that?
Okay. First of all, after I graduated high school, so my teacher and my parents told me that your result not bad, so why don't you apply for scholarship? Because someone told them that there's a scholarship for people born in Sabah, born to indigenous parents, become Bumi Putra. Then I applied. During the interview, one of the panel opened my file and said to me, actually, young man, you are not Bumi Putra. She closed the file, and then I left. I wanted to ask her. I said, why did you invited me for interview? So I didn't get that Bumi Putra scholarship. They said it.
Okay. Wait. Okay, I'm curious. Why did she consider you not a Bumi Putra?
Yes, I asked that question to the lady many years after that, but I keep that later. Okay. Now, so what happened to me after that? Okay. Then, because my teacher was kind, she was from Peninsula, because at the time, in the 80s, many teachers from Peninsula actually working in Sabah and Sarawak,
Okay.
So that teacher was nice. So actually, she submitted my name to Shell, excellent award. So I won the award, and actually that Shell actually financed me during my high school. So they just extended it to my undergraduate.
Okay.
Not because I was Bumi Putra.
Okay. So at the very first place, how you get into your primary school? I mean, what are the chances for the indigenous to get into the primary school?
But I think Labuan might be a little different compared to Sabah and Sarawak, right? Because Labuan is an island that it's maybe more accessible.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes.
Dr. James?
Yes, because Labuan is not actually remote. Actually, it's a well-equipped infrastructure except for shortage of water. But that's the issue of management, nothing much. But you think about people who live far away on the islands, Sabah, Kodat, Sempurna like that, or people who live far away, accessible only by rivers in Sarawak. So, of course, they have schools, but this school is not good.
Right.
You mean in terms of facilities or in terms of the quality of the teacher?
No, because some schools look very grand, the building is good. But the teacher is not good.
It's the quality of the teacher, right?
Because no reasonable young men and women who graduated from teaching college want to go all the way far and live in isolation like that.
Yeah.
And with the pay that they receive, of course, there's no incentive for them. And not to mention that these people actually is the group of graduates that cannot find a job. And then they had no choice but go to teaching profession. In other words, these are not the cream of our education system. These are people who actually, for whatever reason, cannot find a job in the first place. And then they end up become a teacher. In Singapore, to become a teacher is a very competitive. You need to be the best of the best, the cream of the school system in order to be a teacher.
Yeah.
So you also in the other way around, you are trying to point out that actually Malaysian educations that trained a teacher having some problem in that. I mean, like the system, isn't it?
Yes. The candidates that become a teacher eventually is not people who really have passion in teaching.
Right, and I think that if we look at the example of Singapore and even Switzerland, like you said, it's cream of a crop, right? However, if in a country, without an education with the best quality teachers, you end up perpetuating a cycle of poverty. In line with what you're talking about, poverty among plenty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so how is actually besides education, what is also the current situation now when you talk about natural resources and state management? Yeah.
Oh yes. About natural resources, yes. The orang asal, they for many generations they live in the forest, for example, on the islands, remote islands, right? But in recent times, and because of the movement in conservation, so the state took over the territory. So they were promised they will have a better life when you have a park, marine or terrestrial, or if you have a forest reserve. They were said you will have your profit excess and benefit sharing, they say. That was promised before they take away the land. After they become a park, it didn't work that way. So suddenly this orang asal become squatters in their once own land. See? And they are prevented to do hunting, not hunting in a massive scale. Just hunting for them because this brings their memory, because it's part of their culture, Even people, hunting is part of their culture. They used to hunt in the pemakai menua, they said. Pemakai menua means you own piece of land, you inherit it from your grandparents. Because your grandparents invested their time on the land. So now the state government said, no, it's a forest reserve, it's a park. You will not allow those things. Then, before you know, they will give concession to someone to open a fancy resort somewhere there. How would you feel? And because these indigenous people have no much of education, they cannot work with this 5-star or 3-star hotel. So they end up looking at the development, not participating in it, as they were promised when the state government took away the land.
If that's the case, okay, I have another question come across my mind, which is compared to a development, okay, and also the culture inherit from their the past, right? So what should they remain? They should go for development, or they should remain the cultures that inherit from the past?
Oh no. Many people, third party observer, I said, the one that not living with them. When, like me, I go once in a while and collect my data. I used to assume that these people, they want to remain their life, they want their life to remain as it is, like they will be semi-nomadic, like case of Penang. No, it's not true. It's not true that they are rejecting development. They also want better housing, cleaner water to drink, and electricity for the kids to read books.
Yes.
So that is totally false. And I think what they need is time to adjust. You don't take away the land. You don't pollute the river. So they can have a fish. They can have fresh water. So you take that away. So you make them desperate. You created a condition which did not exist before. So you actually, the basic infrastructure is there, if it exists at all, but they cannot have access to it. They have no access because you created the condition, disable them,
So when the government or maybe the developer, they go to having this development project, so throughout the development plan, did they have any group or someone that can representing the people to come out to discuss with the developer or with the government? Is there anyone has done that before?
Okay, usually in the state project or whatever you call national key area stuff, this political mambo jumbo. What they do is first these businessmen will propose to the government. Then government said, okay, we will give some funding, you match with your own money. Then we need to conduct EIA, environmental impact assessment, Environmental impact assessment is just to give you a basic information of the area, who will be affected and how and what to do if they actually severe affected. So usually they don't reject EIA unless there's a strong objection. So the poor people, of course, they have no recourse, or they don't understand this document. It's very complicated. Even for me, it's difficult for me to understand and digest like 300 pages. That is just a tool for them to approve things,
So, other than this kind of impact, right, and practices that are happening, what are other, projects or development and whatnot that you are aware of, and what are some practices?
For example, I have written a piece on a mangrove, the clear mangrove, big area of mangrove in Pitas. If you look at the map of Sabah, it's on the top tips, the other tips of Borneo,
Right.
Pitas and Bengkoka Peninsula.
More than 400 acres, right? You wrote?
Yes. You read the article?
Briefly, yeah.
So what happened was that project actually financed by the federal government, of course, with the state facilitated it, the entire process. So, and these investors from Peninsula, he wanted to open up a fish, shrimp farm. Shrimp farming,
Okay.
Yeah, shrimp farming.
Aquaculture.
It's aquaculture. And it's a very big area, government allocated big area because they bring jobs to the people. Things like that, as usual. But it didn't work that way. This guy, he actually cut pristine mangrove, huge area of pristine mangrove, without even waiting for the EIA to be approved. So if you read my article, I said, why is this guy so confident? Why is he defying the law? He can actually violate and he can get away with it.
And we're talking about an area of more than 300 football fields, yeah?
Oh, yes. And the guy, the investor actually called me after my report appeared. And so he said, he threatened me. He said, why are you being nosy, So, anyway, I asked him, how come you clear so big area just to farm shrimp? I said, I've been to a shrimp farm, the best shrimp farm in the world. I have not seen such a big area. I said, you are going to farm shrimp or you're going to farm elephant? So he hung up the phone,
But I think the key point is that he cleared up the mangrove. It's such a big area, the mangrove, and we all know that the mangrove is one of the main ecosystems. Very important to not only to marine life but also to the wildlife. Yes.
Yeah, trapping carbon footprints.
Yes. So if they reduce it, you're going to cause a really imbalanced ecosystem, I guess, in the future.
Yeah, that's one thing. But actually, the most urgent issue is that affecting the people who live in the vicinity of the area that he cleared. Because these people have been there for many generations. Once they actually, maybe not once, but many times, they actually apply for the land, small piece of land, so they can grow some palm oil, rubber for their livelihood,
Did the developer compensate them?
What do you think?
I don't know. Probably they have, but with a minimum amount of the payment.
Not at all.
No, because the land, we look at the title, belongs to the state. This is what I said about the state take away the land and give it away to someone they actually can share the profit between them.
Yeah.
Okay, if now the state is the one that giving away the land, did the state know about this, the residents or maybe someone that reside there?
Of course, because they've been applying for that piece of land, the same piece of land, not the entire thing that they create, but they just want a small size, like a 10 acre or 20 acre. I mean, how big can orang kampung plan, you know? This orang kampung got very little money. They do it slowly.
So it means that the government not even care about the live or death of the of those people who stay there, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say not the government, but the ruling party doesn't care. Labour doesn't care because they want the land for themselves. The ruling party, because when you say government has three components, right? Politician, the legislator, judiciary, which is the judges, and the bureaucrats. So the bureaucrats and the judges are innocent in this case. Only the politician is the suspect.
Yeah, and I think this goes into the bigger point of crony capitalism that is practiced here, because we're talking about how you introduced to me rent-seeking industries. Can you tell us a little more about this, how this practices?
Okay, the rent-seeking is this exactly what happened in Pitas, the one that I described.
Right.
So first, the land actually customarily belonged to the people, these local people, Malaysian, that been residing there, working on the land for generations. And then in the 80s, the state actually launched a big reforestation. Before that, what happened to the virgin forest? They cut them, of course. I already told you before that we sell timber logs, you know. So they cut them, all is clear. Now, in the 80s, they do reforestation. They said this is good industry, you should replanting, you cannot just cut, no replanting. Then the people said, okay, we will participate in it. But what happened is that after a while, the industry didn't work out. The people lose their land forever because now it belongs to the state. Last time, still they can actually, they were disputing because they said they have customary rights on it. So in the 80s, they surrender the title of the land, the ownership of the land to the state because they were trusted them. So today, after 30 years, the same state that promised them a good life, given that land to someone not from Sabah, they're from Perak. The investor from Perak, and this investor has a bad history of destroying mangrove.
So,
like you said, yeah.
So what do you think is the underlying causes to all these problems that we are looking at?
First of all, I think because our society is very silent. It's everyone's fault, you know. Everyone's fault. People who knows about the issue pretend nothing happened.
Why?
No see, no hear, no.
Why? Why they keep silence and pretend nothing happened? It seems that this is going to threaten their life in the future. I guess So why they still pretend nothing happened and keep silence?
Well, first of all, people who are not living there, they are comfortable with their own life. The people that actually affected now, they come to the city and lodge report, and that's it. I mean, they will not make any, they cannot change things, because they're just small voice.
Somehow I'm not really agree with that. They can't change anything because, like, what we know that from the Malaysians' political environment, actually the opposition party, they have a quite strong support at this moment. So, what have the opposition party done to this? Nothing. They didn't do anything.
No. Opposition party is useful to the extent that they have incentive to take side on behalf of the poor. because poor also bring them votes. They just like any other politician.
Okay.
Of course, I know all of them are honest, but some are not. Actually, they are already rotten to the core too, just like the ruling party. Anyhow, yes, opposition, they have a limit to what extent they're actually helping. You can see that some politicians, they use their skill, like some lawyers, famous lawyers, they actually give pro bono service to these poor people when they go to court. And some of them involved in NGO. There's an NGO help them to mobilize, to build the capacity, how to to organize, to rally the public support behind the plight of these poor people. And those things are not enough,
Then what if that's not enough? What should the local people do? I mean, like, should they go further to getting the help or seeking the help from the United Nations, or should they get it from the NGO from other countries?
Yes, by all means. Yeah, they have to try all channels. They have to try. Yeah, if domestically their voice is muffled by corruption or by someone who don't care or someone prefer to silence, they should go outside too. Find someone who actually sympathize to their cause.
Should you think that the government should set a regulation to those developer or to those who making out from the natural resource, getting lot to contribute back to the indigenous or contribute back to the society? Should make it regulations?
No. Actually, we have many beautiful law and regulations. Just like I said just now, that guy, he don't care about rules, he just do his way.
But if we don't care, we can sue them, is it? Can we?
Yeah.
But the problem is, the question is why none of us or none of the people do so.
Okay, I'll tell you. In the case of the Pitas, actually the agency, the Environment Protection Agency, actually fine them, ask them to pay fine, because they were guilty in violation of many laws.
Yeah, then what happened?
He just ignored it. He keep on doing until now. He's keep on doing it.
If he's keep on doing it, ignore it, so should take further action, is it?
It's already. That is the government agency, the highest.
It's only fine them. That's all.
Yeah,
without any taking other actions.
No, they put a restraining order. I went to see, so they keep the machinery for a while, But that is just for the show, because if you look deeper, if you investigate deeper, who owns this company? That's where it's getting interesting. Who owns this respected company? These are the same people who run the state.
So means that it's a crony.
Yes, I leave it to your imagination. So that's why this guy, he can just, so what? Sue me. He don't even bother. So that is the situation, that we are at, and that's actually very disgusting,
But you said that the courts are innocent, right? So in this case, if the court was given a chance to decide on this case, are they able to really pursue the case and punish whoever is really behind this?
Yeah, the court process is very lengthy and it's very expensive. Yes, these people, affected people, can go back to the court, ask again for injunction, and then this thing, this charade will go on, eventually people will forget about them, this investor will get away with it, that's it.
So what would be a real way forward if you could propose?
First of all, someone needs to help these people and organize them, let the voice to be heard, not only at this level, it's maybe like you said, you should go international, they have to do it. We have to do it.
But no one do it now. The problem is no one taking the initiative to do it.
Well, in the defense of some NGOs that I know in Sabah, they are really organizing the communities. For example, like Pakos Trust, who is educating the indigenous on the UN DRIP, the United Nations Declaration of Indigenous People, and they are organizing them to take cases to court, claiming indigenous rights to land and whatnot. So I think what we could do is actually to support them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I agree. Yes.
I don't think that there's no movement on the ground, but rather I think that because of course, the media wouldn't really talk about it, the ones that are owned by the state, and two, because of this, people are generally ignorant of what's happening on the ground, and then they were just like, oh, it's hopeless, and then they don't know where to channel their support, even if they want to.
Yeah.
So maybe James, you could enlighten us if there are communities, whether is it from West Malaysia, whether is it from other ASEAN countries, if they want to do something, what could they do to help support this?
Yeah, you can start with building the network, because network will have less hassle. Because if you do other official things, you will need to go through red tape, bureaucratic and stuff like that. Yeah, network is the best way. There's many network now. You just lose connection between individuals that care about, they share the same common interests. Yes.
So I would say that contact some NGOs that you resonate with, and then with that, try to link with whether is it in Borneo's NGO or any other, and actually come down the ground and see what was happening, and try to be a part of it in any way that you could.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I agree.
But on the ASEAN level, do you know if there are any efforts towards helping a marginalized group, or like uplifting the economic status of Borneo in general?
Oh, yes. I take example the project that I'm involved in.
Okay.
It's called Coral Triangle Initiative. This one is, our area is Sulu Sulawesi, ecoregion. So we actually looking at the fishery. We will make sure that our fishery sector will be sustainable in the future. And sustainable means that the fishermen will not become poorer and poorer. At least they will have enough food, for themselves. So that's what we do. Actually, that one is a regional level, with strong cooperation, G2G, Philippines, Indonesia, and Sabah. So we are working very hard on it. And yes, we include what is the best alternative livelihood for people who live on the islands, who are now part of the parks, but they are not allowed to do economic activity because park prevented them. Yeah, so we work out that way.
Right. So on a more community level, how do you propose helping the minorities to get out of this cycle of poverty?
It will take time. Yeah. First of all, we need to say that it will take time. Right. There will exist pocket of poverty here and there, but we, with our limited resources, both from federal government and state government, they have to use all possible resources, focus it on this group, not to do things like one Malaysia shop, one Malaysia clinic. This is totally out, Yeah.
And I think that in our previous conversation, you brought up a point about intellectuals and university academicians, yeah? So it's also related to my earlier point of how intellectuals are really important, and that's why that scholarship might be actually needed to help to bring up some young leaders who are well educated and who could uplift the community as a whole. But however, we also noted how you mentioned that even within intellectual groups and university academicians, there are some policies or something that's happening there.
Yes. What you said is true, because if you remember in the 70s,
right,
we produced a lot of good leaders because they first of all, they study and work in university, and they actually expose the glaring poverty in Baling, Kedah, that movement in the 70s. Those actually are spearheaded by people who are in the university. So what happened now? Today we have academics, people who in Ivory Tower, who are actually isolated from the mainstream, not the mainstream, isolated from the marginalized and minorities people who is living in poverty. They have been shackled and chained by many regulations, rules imposed both from state and also from the higher education ministry, who is doing the remote control. Because, for example, me, if you look at the regulation, I'm already violated the regulation for speaking to the media without permission.
Oh, okay. So, So, what kind of other laws are you guys subjected to?
Oh, yeah. If you want to read the law, I can send you like 1,001 law and regulation governing not only academics like me, also to my student. Student, they have College and University Act.
Yes,
they repeal it, but actually they replace it with another terrible law.
But first of all, I'm wondering why do we? Having that kind of the regulation to restrict the lecturer or someone, the interactor to speak to the media. Why they have that kind of the restriction?
Yeah, because as far as my experience go, the normal practices is that intellectuals are supposed to contribute to public discourse, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You shouldn't getting any permission to speak because you have a freedom to speak, especially to those in intellectual group community, because they can contribute a lot on the ideas.
No, not so. From my experience, and why we have such a terrible law governing the academic and students? Because in the past, the ruling party had the majority, and those who have the majority can pass bills and laws, and that is the law for them to control, to stay in power.
Right. What kind of... Sorry, continue.
I mean, it's good. It's good that we have now balance and check and balance in the parliament, because you already said that opposition is getting stronger, but that is not so for Sabah and Sarawak. In fact, the ruling party is getting stronger and much more arrogant.
What kind of other laws can you speak of?
Other than the university regulation, many public service circular means just rules, don'ts and no do, only don'ts.
Oh, okay. Like, don't speak to the media. Don't. What are some don'ts?
Oh, everything that a normal human being should do. I mean, reasonable thinking and thinking out loud person like me supposed to do. They don't allow.
Oh, okay.
There is no such thing, intellectual freedom or academic freedom in Malaysia. Especially if you work with university like UiTM, UiTM, yeah.
So just wondering, Dr. James, if you've been found out, you've been interviewed by us, so what will happen?
Well, they will issue me a warning.
Warning, and then?
And then they will hold my promotion, which is they are doing now. So, there's a lot of intimidation that people outside cannot see.
But you didn't say anything bad about the government. You didn't say anything wrong. So what is the thing that they can use, the reason, the excuses they can use to put the punishment on you?
Because I didn't get permission from my my so-called superior.
Right. And do the superiors normally allow academicians to speak if you apply for that?
Yep.
Or will they give you a bunch of things that is sensitive and
excuses
you cannot...
so you cannot be in interview or what?
Of course not.
So which means that even the application is useless, right?
Yeah,
they won't allow. No matter how they won't allow.
That's why we don't even bother to ask.
Have you tried asking before?
Sure. Many times.
Sure. Okay.
And this is like for the local media only, or even applies to international media?
Any media, as long as you speak the truth, that is done.
But say, like, if you're not representing the university or not representing the institution, should it be okay just voice out or maybe having an opinion on your personal opinion? Is it okay? Or they still violate the... Sorry?
Still, because...
so they will consider it still violating the rules and regulations?
Yeah. They find all sort of trivial things just to pin you down. Yeah.
Well, that's ridiculous to me. So sorry to say that. Yes.
So it is. Yes, it is.
Right. I think that even my friends from the GLC, government-linked companies, are also facing that kind of problems. Like, you know... But
what's wrong with that? We just simply voice out our opinion as a personal opinion, right? So why should they put on the punishment on us?
Yeah, so, because he's an activist and he works in Tenaga Nasional, yeah? And
nothing wrong with that.
So, yeah... So thank you so much, Dr. James, for sharing with us how it is really like. Any last message to our listeners?
Well, keep on fighting for change.
Yes, this is a good line.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we should all do what we think is right and be the change. Yeah.
Yes. So thank you very much, Dr. James, and we should wish that we not get you into trouble with this interview.
Yeah, I would like to see the 101 laws if it's possible.
Yeah, just in case, Dr. James, if seriously that like the interview that get you into any trouble, any kind of the troubles, maybe you can send us an email. Then we should just talk or elaborate on that. Sure. Yeah? All right. So thank you for your time, Dr. James.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Nice talking to you too.
Yeah, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
All right. Thank you.
Good day.
Bye. Bye.